that split second is very critical, because if you don't act in that split second, then you're going to reap the consequences for weeks, for months, and the cascade and so on and so forth. So when you called me and you told me to do this, go and put everything that you're doing aside and go and hug your wife, I responded in my mind the same way I responded earlier. This guy thinks this thing is straightforward and thinks this thing is easy, but it's not. But I said, nevertheless, at your word, I will do it.
And how did it turn out?
So I went, and let me tell you, split seconds. That moment, that action of just putting my ego on my back and sitting on it, maybe shaking my ego and standing on it, and selecting to be ashamed, selecting to feel embarrassed, selecting those negative emotions, and just cruising past them, right? It's like the wind is blowing and you're just cruising past the wind to go. Even when everything in me was screaming, sit down, where do you think you're going? It changed everything, absolutely everything. I think 180 degrees changed everything. That split second. But you see, you had asked me like how many years ago, how many months ago?
Like 3 months.
To do the very.
This was in like May around there.
Yeah. So my point is that we, in that split second, when you think you have a right, and probably, by the way, for the most part, when you think you have a right to be
sometimes
angry,
you do.
Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do, right? Because it takes two to tango. That split second can save you a lot in your relationship. That split second where you can either react to the anger stimulus, or you can respond in the total opposite of what you are naturally expected to do. It can save you quite a lot.
So because you wanted us to talk about domestic gender-based violence in this segment, and from the story that I gave earlier, about the man whose wife asked for accountability and then he stabbed her in the head. And now the opposite side on your side is in the moment of conflict between you and your spouse, where the other man chose to stab his wife, you went and hugged your wife. There is always choice.
Yeah.
But men are capable of vision beyond what they can imagine. That sometimes a man has the capacity to have clarity. In fact, again, I've fallen in love with Jose Mojica, and he said, while he was in solitary confinement in prison, he said that sometimes that between sanity and craziness, the boundary line keeps shifting.
Between sanity and craziness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Between sanity and madness, the boundary lines shift. That in that moment of anger, one of the things that people underappreciate the power of is the power of our tongue. Some people are not angry physically that they beat up people, they throw things. But I used to be one of those people who could just say one word.
Choice word, choice morsel.
Just one word.
Yeah.
And someone's world just unravels like this. Yeah. And I used to take pride in having that tongue that cuts.
Yeah.
Until I saw that I got this tongue from somewhere. It's an imprint. It's a pattern. You get? And I thank God that over time, my father and I have learned to hold our tongue.
You've had a very powerful transformation with your father, because I remember the wedding that was in 2010, 2011 there. He didn't show up.
He didn't
come.
It's like, I do not want to know your things.
Yeah.
Leave me out of your life.
Yeah. But this one,
that was words.
In 2018, was it in 2018?
2020.
In 2020, he ran the show.
He did. It was his show.
He was basically all over. I mean, he made sure that everything ran smoothly. Totally involved.
150%.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Or what changed? Accepting that I'm my father's son.
You had to do some accepting, right?
I'll say this. 2017 when I was homeless. After struggling, I eventually had to accept that I have a home. Like my father has a home. I can go and stay. And so in the process of fighting to go back to stay home, a thought came into my mind, and I want to believe that it was God speaking to me, because in accepting that thought, my life changed. He said, you have to be a good son before you become a great man.
Wow.
So if you have a chance to be a son,
wow,
go and be a son.
Yeah.
And that is where you'll get the blessing to prepare you to be a great man.
So you are here today because of that particular moment.
Yes.
Where you chose to be your father's son.
Yes.
And to be a good father's son at that. And now that also made him to shift his position, I believe. Right?
Perspective shifts.
His perspective shifted.
And when the perspective shifts, the tongue shifts.
Yeah.
Because the tongue follows imagination.
Yeah. So
we believe and so we speak.
And so you guys are now buddies.
We are getting to brotherhood by the grace of God. And as his son, his well-being is my responsibility. Like, and
concern at the same time. Yeah.
I want to make sure my dad is good.
Awesome.
And we have.
Yeah.
We disagree.
Yeah.
But you know what's different now?
Yeah.
When we disagree, we remain civil.
Yeah.
And
he spoke very powerful about at your wedding about your father-in-law.
Yeah.
And it's like he got a lot of respect for your father-in-law.
He was his boss. But our friends and brothers.
The respect that he has for your father-in-law also has some kind of contribution to your relationship.
It does, because you see, being a Solid Jamaa also is about understanding that you are juxtaposed in a conversation of heritage and destiny, that you are not Lawrence Namale on your own.
Yeah.
You are Lawrence Namale, the son of so and so and the father of so and so.
Yeah.
So as a piece of this ongoing conversation, as a piece within this DNA strand, you have to be deliberate about how you turn up. So the purpose of this conversation, the purpose of what we are doing, is to get men off the conveyor belt of ordinary men to be solid Jamaaz, people who are intentional about love, about growing people rather than destroying people. And we've talked about the tongue. And this is, I keep coming back to this, because you see, domestic violence is very easy to understand. You see a scar, and yes, it's there, but then the scars
that are invisible,
that are caused by words. My goodness.
And sometimes the core of these words, I think as men, we just have to swallow the pill, humble pie, and agree sometimes to be embarrassed, because ego comes with those connotations. The price to pay, or the occupational hazard that comes with working with your ego is things like shame, things like embarrassment in the moment, things like feeling lesser of a man at that particular moment. And sometimes it's okay to allow that to happen, to allow the awkwardness of the moment, to allow the shame of the moment, to allow the embarrassment of the moment, to allow the idea that I am not the man that I am supposed to be at this moment in time, and allow the shame to work on you even at that particular moment in time.
I'm struggling to accept your message, but I get it.
Let me explain it. Because the more you feel validated with your ego, right?
Become shameless?
The more you become, quote unquote, that shameless that they talk about.
And if you are shameless,
shameless, you are not necessarily human. And if you are shameless, I mean, you'll beat your child, you'll beat your wife, you'll beat everybody around shamelessly.
Solid Jamaa isn't a shameless man.
Yeah. So you've got to pay the price of sometimes shame and embarrassment. And I think if you don't accept the fact that you need help in that particular moment, even with your anger. I remember my dad one day, sometimes I said this on my episode, I say that some of the things that our kids eavesdrop on, they go like choice morsels into them. They take them like gospel truth. I overheard my dad saying, after he got born again, he said, there is one thing that is a big problem with me.
Him or you?
Him. There's one, he was saying, he was telling someone else in the sitting room, I was just somewhere eavesdropping. One of my biggest problems is anger. And I said, yeah, you got that right.
Like I'm a witness.
Yeah. So I'm saying, if a man can come to that level where you know, these are my problems, these are my issues that are related to my ego.
Has he worked on it? Have you seen him work on
it?
Yeah,
he even mom.
Let's because that's the example that we are looking for.
There's a time mom actually testified to us later on, and I know I don't want them to listen to this episode, but this is what she said. This is what she said. She said, I thank God that guy got saved. He used to be an animal.
But you said you used not to see any of that. The man
now
was
you see, because he got saved when I was a young guy. But before I was born, he was with mom. You get my point? So she knows the spectrum of his animalistic instincts and so on and so forth. Before I arrived.
What kind of animal now?
Yeah. So the guy was angry. And even before he got saved, I was young, and I would see how he would behave and so on and so forth. He would get pissed off. He would get pissed off with things, and he would really shout, at people and so on and so forth. And sometimes, by the way, he would curse. He would drop F-bombs in the village, right? So he God's grace has worked on him and so on and so forth. But one of the things that I want you to note is I was caught unawares. I was staying at this family friend's house because my dad had been transferred and I had nowhere to stay, so I had to stay with them. Something happened, an episode happened, and I reacted. I was innocently reacting. But the firstborn in that house, who is my age mate, she told me, but hey, you Lawrence, you have a temper. You really have a temper.
You are visiting?
No, I was staying with them. I was staying with them for about a year or so because I was pursuing my course. I needed to finish my course.
So what happened? How did you turn up?
I don't remember the episode, but what I remember is what she said, because I was in the episode. I didn't know I was manifesting anger. I thought I was just responding the way, but when she brought that to my attention, that's when I realized I have an anger issue also. Let me imprint, so to speak.
Let me, even as we wind this down, I'm reminded of a friend I went to school with in primary and again in secondary. And recently we met at a wedding, and he pulled up his shirt. And showed someone else. No, we weren't at a wedding, where I'll get together. And he pulled up his shirt and said, you see this scar? He was showing someone, and I was standing there next to him. He said, this man here cut me with a razor blade. I went P7.
Do you remember?
Yeah. I was sharpening a pencil.
Yeah.
Sharpening a pencil, minding my business. And then this guy was just being cheeky. Yo, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, please leave me. Just leave me.
Yeah.
Wow, what will you do?
Yeah.
What will you do?
Yeah.
Because he was older than me.
Yeah.
Like, what will you do? Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, leave me. Leave me. and then he did it again. It was like karate.